Chile was once one of the most Catholic countries in Latin America. But when Pope Francis visited earlier this year as part of his tour of the region, he found a country that is turning its back on the church, a society that is questioning the church's hierarchy. Revelations of decades of abuse of children and adults across Chile, and then the following cover-up sent shockwaves across this country and across the world.
The number of victims is in the hundreds, if not thousands. Few have spoken out. Juan Carlos Cruz, José Andrés Murillo and James Hamilton are three men that did.
We fought for many years with Juan Carlos and José Andrés to reveal the truth, just the truth.
Cuando uno sabe lo que ha vivido, tienes que decirlo, y tú sabes que aquello que tú tienes la convicción de que aquella verdad que tú tienes puede ayudarle a otros, tú tienes casi como el deber de decirla.
The snowball effect, the example of what's happening in Chile, is a big crack in this wall that hopefully everybody's trying to go through, and the wall is going to fall.
For decades, abuse within the church in Chile was hidden. It was dealt with in-house, it was not talked about, nor was it made public. That changed with the case of the Bosque parish in Santiago, where for many years Father Fernando Caradima led the congregation. Caradima was charismatic and powerful. His Sunday Mass would be full. There would be loudspeakers outside for those who could not find room in the church to listen to him.
Caradima wasn't really respected. He was powerful. He has big relations with Pinochet and his government, and with the aristocrats and the business power in Chile. So he was a very powerful man.
For young men, El Bosque was a place to meet, and to receive attention from Caradima was to be put in a place of privilege.
I was 15 years old and my father died, and so I'm the oldest of three brothers, and my mom was 37 years old, and I felt, well, the weight of the world came to me after my father's death, and I was devastated. And so for me it was very hard, and I was very sad. And so someone said, well, you should go speak to Father Fernando Caradima, who at the time was the future saint of Chile. He told me, you are very lucky. Consider yourself very lucky, because I am going to be your spiritual director, and I think that's the will of God, he said. And on top of it, look how lucky God has sent you a new father.
It was in the early 1980s when Cruz and Hamilton approached El Bosque. The country was ruled by the Pinochet dictatorship. Hamilton says there were few options for young men back then.
And at that time, other thing was trying to give your life for the ill, for the poor, for the hungry, and that was in the church, because it was that way or to fight. I saw in the church something was of value to give yourself, all your strength and all your energy, or your happiness.
Murillo is younger than Cruz and Hamilton. A life dedicated to the church appealed to his sense of service.
Y yo quería ser cura por exactamente lo mismo, la misma energía, la misma fuerza que me hace hoy día trabajar acá en la fundación. Como no era otra cosa, era lo mismo. Como lo que pasa es que me di cuenta que en la iglesia había estas cosas un poco raras, ¿no? Que se habían disociado, se habían divorciado del compromiso social.
It was a search for spiritual guidance from the church and a commitment to a life of service that led these three men to want to join the church. But José Andrés Murillo now heads the Foundation for Confidence, which works with abuse victims. Juan Carlos Cruz is in media and communications in the United States, and James Hamilton is a respected doctor. While at El Bosque, supposedly under the guidance and care of the priest, for many years, while these men were in their mid-teens, they were sexually abused by Caradima.
Caradima es el personaje que representa un tipo de cultura católica en Chile, que es lo peor. Intenta embaucar, pero miente, abusa y se muestra muy pío, muy espiritual, muy católico, pero en el fondo está lleno de redes de poder, de protección, de poder económico, poder político, poder militar incluso en Chile.
These three men spoke out in 2010 and have remained active in denouncing abuse in the church. They suspect there are many more victims.
There's hundreds of victims that are silent. Only for him.
I don't know, dozens, 100, easy. But the problem is not just Caradima. Caradima, after some times, we have realized that he wasn't the worst. Caradima is just a kind of example, and a poor example of what is happening in all the church.
The Caradima case became a defining moment in Chile's recent history. Director Matías Lira made a fictional movie about the case.
Por eso hay que no confundir, mi película nunca fue contra la iglesia, fue contra la cúpula de poder que se había tomado a la iglesia.
The dimension of abuse in Chile has shocked the country, according to Lira, and yet the courage of the three victims to speak out has brought about a shift in society.
El fenómeno de las víctimas de José Andrés Murillo, Jimmy Hamilton y Juan Carlos Cruz tiene que ver con que ellos empoderaron al país. Ya no es solamente tres víctimas, ¿me entiende? Ya hay una sociedad empoderada. Y ya esta sociedad está cuestionando lo que pasa en los colegios, lo que pasa en las universidades, lo que pasa en el mundo laboral. Ahora hay todo un tema impresionante con el tema hasta de las libertades, ¿me entiende? El aborto, o sea, el gran defensor del aborto era la iglesia. Hoy día ellos ya no tienen ningún derecho a opinar sobre esto.
In a country that shifted between long spells of military rule and democracy, for many years the church was an institution that was held in high regard across the political spectrum.
Durante mucho tiempo la Iglesia Católica tuvo un rol fundamental, tanto en la creación de la cultura, ¿no? Como hasta incluso la lucha por los derechos humanos durante la dictadura, ¿no? Fue muy importante y tenía una validación social, una legitimidad.
The revelations of sex abuse changed that. Surveys showed over 75% of Chileans trusted the church in 2009. After the Caradima case, the latest surveys suggest that is now as low as 30%. Father Carlos Irarrázaval is now the priest at El Bosque Parish.
Yo asumo en el 2011, un año y meses después de que revienta el caso públicamente. Cuando yo llego todavía quedaba gente que creía que esto era un invento. Y cuando llego yo hay un cambio, claro, se sienten despojados de lo suyo y muchos se van también. O sea, yo también sufrí el que gente se fuera después de que yo llego.
This decline led to the extraordinary sight of a small turnout for the Pope earlier this year. Father Irarrázaval says Chile only had 6 months to prepare for the visit of the Pope, so logistics were just one of the problems the country faced. So too was the possibility of an attack.
Es cierto también, y hay que ser sinceros, que hubo amenazas, hubo quema de iglesias y amenazas directas contra el Papa antes que el Papa pisara Chile. O sea, hubo panfletos en donde la próxima Molotov va en tu sotana. Entonces los cuerpos de seguridad obviamente le pusieron un ojo a la seguridad mayor de lo que uno quisiera.
But the victims say it is the abuse scandal that is the reason for the anger towards the church.
The Pope planned to come to Chile. Priest of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith told him, "You're crazy. You cannot go to Chile. Chile is kind of a fireplace." But Cardinal Errázuriz, Cardinal Esati told the Pope, Chile is perfect, there is no problem. So the Pope believed that. He came. What he saw, the worst reception of a Pope in the history.
Pope Francis sparked controversy over his defence of priest Barros, who was accused of covering up the crimes of Caradima.
El día que me traigan una prueba contra el obispo Barros, ahí voy a hablar. No hay una sola prueba en contra, todo es calumnia. Claro. Gracias.
Yet there was to be an extraordinary turnaround in the Pope's attitude.
Yo sé que hay mucha gente abusada que no puede traer una prueba. No la tiene. Y que no puede, o a veces la tiene, pero tiene vergüenza que lo tapa y sufre en silencio. El drama de los abusados es tremendo.
The experience in Chile led to a sea change in the Vatican's approach.
He realized in that moment that in Chile was happening a big problem.
And all of a sudden the Pope assumes that he committed mistakes by defending the abusers, and he apologizes publicly for that and decides to turn this Chilean case into a sort of a case study for the international community. And everybody from the United States today and Europe, they're watching what the Church and the Pope is doing concerning the child abuse cases in Chile, because clearly that's going to be a policy to be applied in the rest of the world.
Cruz, Hamilton and Murillo were invited to Rome. They spent days talking to the Pope, and this in turn influenced how the Pope dealt with the Chilean bishops who were summoned to the Vatican.
When he gave them a 10-page letter that was very to the core and very harsh, there was language in there that I saw that I had used. There was language that Jose Andres saw that he had used. There was language that Jimmy had used. And he clearly was paying attention, and he put it in that letter. And that was incredible to see.
In their meeting, Juan Carlos Cruz told the Pope he was homosexual, something which had been used against him by the Church in Chile.
And he told me that God loved me that way, that the Pope loves me that way, and that I should love myself. I said that in the media, and it turned out into this worldwide, you know, like they were talking about it in The View and like all these shows. They were, organizations of all over the world were speaking out saying how great.
From not being believed or listened to, these three men now had the Pope's full attention.
Bueno, nosotros siempre hemos pensado y tenemos la convicción que la cantidad de abuso y encubrimiento que hay en la Iglesia es muchísimo mayor de la que se sabe incluso hoy. Y esto lo conversamos con el Papa, ¿no? Y el Papa dijo, tienen toda la razón. Tanto así que después le escribe una carta a los obispos chilenos diciendo, ustedes han sido cómplices en la creación de una cultura del abuso y el encubrimiento, ¿no? El abuso sexual infantil y el encubrimiento. ¿Por qué se da ese giro? Yo le pregunté al Papa. Me dijo, uno, yo cuando estuve en Chile sentí que había un frío, que había una falta de entusiasmo muy, muy fuerte, ¿no? Leí la prensa internacional. Y tercero, llamé a un amigo, me dijo, y mi amigo me dijo, hazte cargo en verdad de este problema.
Caradima was never convicted by a court after the statute of limitations was reached, but in September of this year, the Pope announced that Caradima would be defrocked, expelled from the priesthood, the strongest of actions possible by the Church. Yet the ramifications of the sex abuse scandal is far more reaching than just the Caradima case. In May, all bishops announced they had offered their resignation, but this is a version disputed by the victims.
They say that they presented their resignations. No, the Pope asked them for their resignation.
The lawyer for these three victims is Juan Pablo Hermosilla, who is pushing forward civil cases brought by Cruz, Murillo and Hamilton.
My clients made a serious insight that the problem was not the abuser itself, or was not the main problem, but was a system of cover-up and impunity within the church that basically explained why all these priests were not afraid of committing all these serious offenses and crimes, because they were confident that if somebody reported any crime, nothing was going to happen to them.
This is now changing. As well as more revelations of abuse, prosecutors are indicting the church hierarchy in their investigations. The Santiago Cardinal, Ricardo Asati, the head of the Chilean church, was called up as part of the investigation over a cover-up. Mass, led by the cardinal at the cathedral in Santiago, now sees these kind of incidents. Asati said little in court, and the local press reports that the Pope is looking for a replacement for the cardinal. But the victims are sceptical about the outcome of the trial.
We are in a trial against the bishop, Asati, and the judge is a fervent Catholic. So what you can do? So it's ridiculous. But well, here we are.
At the Chile Bishops' Conference, spokesperson Jaime Coiro says many in the church do important work in the community, helping the poor and the ill, but the crimes of the few are undeniable.
Eso es verdad, pero también es verdad que hay un grupo de consagrados que cometió unos delitos atroces que deben ser esclarecidos, aquellos que están siendo investigados, y aquellos que sean considerados verosímiles o efectivos deben ser también castigados con todo el rigor de la legislación canónica en cuanto consagrados y de la legislación civil en cuanto ciudadanos chilenos.
And the Chile Bishops' Conference acknowledges that these scandals have led to a drop in trust in the church.
Respecto de la baja de confianza y de credibilidad, evidentemente que los escándalos tienen un lugar importante en los criterios que explican aquello.
Now the 3 victims from the Caradima case are active in speaking out. José Andrés Murillo is the director of the Foundation for Confidence.
Dije, no puede ser que nosotros, a partir de una situación tan grave, difícil, violenta como el abuso, nuestra propuesta de vuelta sea la desconfianza total, ¿no? Como que no se pueda confiar en nadie porque eso destruye sociedad, ¿no? Destruye comunidad, destruye ciudad, destruye familia. Entonces, ¿qué pasa si le damos un giro, una vuelta a la confianza? Y creemos que la confianza puede ser un factor protector y no un factor de riesgo, un factor de construcción de comunidad y no un factor de destrucción de comunidad.
The Foundation warns of the gravity of the situation, not only in Chile and across Latin America, but also across the world.
Un problema que existe el abuso sexual, sino que además las consecuencias que trae, el sufrimiento que hay para las víctimas del abuso, las consecuencias que hay en el plano psicológico, social, incluso físico. Hay enfermedades que se han ido correlacionando con situaciones de abuso sexual durante la infancia, ¿no? Incluso hay investigaciones que hablan sobre las consecuencias en la empleabilidad de una persona cuando ha sido víctima de abuso sexual durante su infancia. Entonces nos damos cuenta de la cantidad de manifestaciones en distintos ámbitos que hay una persona cuando ha sido víctima, que tiene que ser un problema de salud pública, ¿no? Y además con ese nivel de prevalencia.
The investigation into the abuse of children by church members in Chile continues as more cases are revealed and documented. The case of Chile has led to a radical change from the Vatican. A report by Chilean prosecutors says it has investigated 158 members of the church in relation to 178 victims. The numbers are expected to continue to rise. In October, Pope Francis expelled 2 more retired Chilean bishops from the priesthood as the investigations into the past continue. Murillo, Cruz and Hamilton now have differing views of the church and their faith, but it is their courage and bravery to speak out, despite the pressure placed on them, that is finally bringing justice for them and for other victims.
Somos parte del cambio estructural de una cultura probablemente latinoamericana que se vio obligada a esconder, a silenciar el abuso sexual, el sometimiento. Y hoy día esa misma gente puede hablar, ¿no? Y los que hoy día tienen miedo son mucho más los abusadores que las víctimas de abuso. Y eso es un cambio importante. Eso es un cambio importante a nivel mundial.
Despite the horrible numbers, despite the horrible things we're seeing, I am hopeful, and this is not naive, I hope, but I'm hopeful that this culture of abuse, this culture of cover-up, this is the beginning of the end of that. And I'm very happy to be part of it.
Now I feel really comforted and very happy because I feel our society has changed and has changed forever.